If wisdom is simply knowing facts, then information would save us. But wisdom is truth lived out, and it shapes every decision we make. Wisdom isn't knowing more. It's seeing life from God's perspective and choosing accordingly. Wisdom is the understanding of eternal truths. Wisdom distinguishes what is good from what is evil. It is the truest form of knowledge. Wisdom is what was true 1,000 years prior and what will be true 1,000 years later, unchanging forever. Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm glad you're here for another video. This video is the 6th of an 8-part series I'm doing on the traits a man of godly character should have. If this is your first time here, I'm Avi. I'm passionate about exploring the beauty of scripture, having hard contemporary conversations, and teaching God's truths. My goal is to point everything back to the God of Israel, who is found in his son, Yeshua, who is Jesus. Also, if you enjoy the video, please leave a like and comment because honestly, I just want to connect with you guys. Will you choose wisdom or wisdom? Let me explain. Human nature is not basically good. The book of Genesis in particular is focused on the human condition and the consequences of what happens when we go against God's design. Genesis 3 verse 6, when the woman saw that the tree was good for eating and a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was desirable as a source of wisdom, she took of its fruit and ate. She also gave some to her husband and he ate. So basically, if anything evil happens to you, just remember to blame women. No, obviously, I'm just kidding. Adam and Eve lived together in the Garden of Eden with everything provided for them. They lacked nothing. No hunger, no fear, no scarcity, no blame. And yet, there was still something they did not have. Not provision, but knowledge of the unknown. The first human desire was not survival. It was the desire to know what they did not know yet. And to gain that knowledge, they were given a choice to determine for themselves what is good and what is evil. There are a few ways to articulate true wisdom. I have chosen to use the biblical Hebrew for this video to make my point. The Hebrew Bible makes a quiet but critical distinction. The first pursuit of wisdom was not chachma, which is the Hebrew word for wisdom used in the writings of Solomon. It was lehaskil, insight without obedience. Both of them translate to wisdom, but this Hebrew word for wisdom is unique to the Genesis story. So chachma, the fear of the Lord, is the beginning of chachma. Wisdom is used in Proverbs chapter 1 verse 7. Chachma is not intelligence. It's an alignment with God's design. Truth, which stands as the ultimate distinction. Lehaskil, the character of the word, could be understood as insight pursued apart from submission or self-directed. Lehaskil is skill without surrender. From the beginning, the problem was never intelligence, it was independence. Scripture shows us that wisdom is not a single idea. There is knowledge, insight, understanding, and skill. But only chachma, wisdom rooted in the fear of the Lord, leads to life. I love to use the example of the United States of America, the country that was founded on biblical values and achieved to be one of the greatest nations to ever exist in the history of the world. How was that achieved? By wisdom that came from God. In the Declaration of Independence, written by men inspired by the Bible, wrote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator, the God of the Bible, with uncertain, unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." In my opinion, the founding fathers of the United States were the finest of men, and I love how they said these truths are self-evident. John Adams, one of the founding fathers who helped write the Declaration of Independence, said, and I quote, "Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other." In other words, you need wisdom to abide and uphold it, but not just merely for religion or morality, but the appreciation for the necessity of God. This is the power of wisdom that a man achieves on a great scale. But now let's talk about wisdom on the individual scale. Smart people can achieve great things, but it takes wise men to procure a decent society. Wisdom for you. Wisdom asks, what is a way to a better life? How do I do life the best way possible? James 1 verse 5, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him." How many other times in the Bible is it recorded that for something like wisdom is received so quickly from God? Why is wisdom so special? There are a few things in Scripture God explicitly invites us to ask for. Wisdom is one one of them. And when it is asked for humbly, God delights to give it to us. One thing I want to make clear is this: it is impossible to stay the same when you seek God with all of your heart. You will never stop growing in character when you prioritize getting to know the Lord. Solomon is the clearest and most explicit example in all of Scripture of what it means to obtain wisdom from God. Though there are few, we'll be focusing on Solomon in 2 Chronicles. Solomon's story remains unique in its emphasis on God being pleased with a selfless choice of wisdom over typical desires and promising something unmatched, a wise and discerning heart, so that there will never be anyone like you, nor will there ever be. What is fascinating about this is that we get to read and learn from a man God anointed as being a man with a mind that will never exist again. One warning to be aware of is this: though Solomon was the wisest man to ever live and achieve extraordinary things, wisdom did not override his free will. He still had the free will to choose unwisely, and those unwise choices did not negate his wisdom. They exposed its limits when it was no longer governed by obedience to God. A wise man can still be compromised. Therefore, we must remain diligent and careful with this divine gift. It will be profoundly unwise to receive something so precious from God, the wisdom that illuminates and guides our lives, only to neglect the ongoing responsibility needed to nurture and preserve it. Over the past few months, a principle that has become deeply meaningful to me is the relentless pursuit of knowledge. I consider myself an autodidact, a self-directed learner, and I strongly encourage you to embrace the same approach. Because what this does is place the responsibility for growth directly on my own shoulders, rather than depending solely on podcasts, sermons, or other external sources to supply me with insight. Those resources are valuable, of course, but when I take the ownership of my own education, I've experienced personal growth at a remarkably accelerated pace. I get to master any subject at any given time. Since we have such great access to information these days, I have found there to be no rational excuse for myself. So here's my encouragement for you today. Don't wait for wisdom to come to you. Go out and claim it. Pick up that book you've been meaning to read. Dive into a topic that stirs your curiosity. Ask the hard questions and teach yourself something new this week. Start small if you need to, but start. The moment you take responsibility for your own learning, you'll feel the momentum build, and you'll wonder why you ever relied on anyone else to feed your mind and soul. You have everything you need right now to begin. Take the step and watch how quickly your life expands. Some final and pertinent words. Remember to always take initiative for your own growth. You can also rely on people that you trust to find wisdom if you're in a situation that you don't know what to do. Here's a powerful quote that I read from the book The Rational Bible of Genesis by Dennis Prager. If you wait for God to contact you before you lead a God-centered life, you will almost surely never lead a life with God in it. Contrary to what some might suggest, we shouldn't sit back and expect miracles to fall from the sky. Instead, we are called to do everything within our power to improve our circumstances, to act with intention, effort, and resolve. Of course, this doesn't mean carrying the weight of anxiety, as Scripture beautifully reminds us, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication. With thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. Philippians 4:6. Pray about everything, entrust your burdens to Him, and then rise up and do what you can. Faith and action go hand in hand. Prayer aligns our hearts with God's peace, while diligent effort moves us forward in the direction He's already guiding us. Another beautiful quote that is attributed to the theologian Augustine: pray as if everything depends on God, work as if everything depends on you. That is wisdom. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you got this far, you are amazing and it means the world to me. My goal for these videos is that it would just reach one more soul and bring them to the truth of God who is found in His Son Yeshua, the Messiah. Like, comment, and subscribe. I would love to connect with you guys and reply to your comments and get to know you all. Love you guys. Bye.